Before we wrap up, let's take a closer look at the breathing tags. Breathing tags are not part of the standard W3C set of SSML tags, but they're proprietary with Amazon. As I said, AWS offers both an automatic and a manual breathing capability. Here's a code for a sample with Joanna. All SSML speech text begins and ends with a speak tag. For automatic breathing, the auto breaths tag goes at the beginning of the area where the breaths are to be added, and the close tag goes at the end of that area. There are 3 parameters for auto breath: volume, frequency, and duration. Auto breath does not work with neural voices at this time, and by the way, the breathing results are different for each of the voices, so you need to try them. This code will result in a minimal audible breathing. If any of the 3 parameters are not defined, Polly assumes and uses the minimal default value. Let's hear Joanna at the minimal levels. Listen closely.
Amazon Polly is a service that turns text into lifelike speech. This feature allows you to create applications that talk and build entirely new categories of speech-enabled products. With dozens of lifelike voices across a variety of languages, you can select the ideal voice and build speech-enabled applications that work in many different countries.
I really only heard one breath, and that was after the word language. But actually, maybe minimal breathing may make it seem even more human. Let's hear her with the maximum for each parameter.
Amazon Polly is a service that turns text into lifelike speech. For creating applications that talk and building entirely new categories of speech-enabled products, Amazon Polly is a text-to-speech service that uses advanced deep learning technologies to synthesize speech that sounds like a human. With dozens of lifelike voices, variety of languages, you can select the ideal voice and build speech-enabled applications that work in many different countries.
Maybe a little too much, depending on the meaning and the conditions of the text. Manual breaths have the same parameters, but they can be inserted any place in the text. Unlike the auto breath, they don't require a closing tag, but only occur at that very spot in the text where you put it. Here's some text with a manual breath.
Wow. That was quite fast. I almost beat my personal best time on this track.
We can speed the text up by adding a prosody parameter to increase the rate.
Wow. That was quite fast. I almost beat my personal best time on this track.
I am not sure. I think I need to think about it. Sally? Is that you?
Let's look at the text for the Emily Dickinson poem we heard at the end of the last session. The first line is the speak tag that opens the text and works with the closing tag to define the area to be converted from text to speech. The second line sets the pitch and the rate for the speech. I set these just by changing them and listening until I got what I thought sounded good for the poem. In the next line, nobody, spelled the way it is in the poem, sounded like this.
I'm nobody.
The inflection sounds wrong for the meaning, and I wanted it to really stand out, so I fixed that by breaking nobody into 2 words. So it sounds like this.
I'm nobody.
I put a 750 microsecond pause in the next line using the break tag for more emphasis. The line is, are you nobody too? I changed the ARE to just the letter R for a better sound. I raised the pitch and lowered the rate for the sentence. Then there's a pair of us. Listen to the difference.
Then there's a pair of us? Then there's a pair of us?
I added a full 1 second pause after that. I used the emphasis tag we talked about in the first lesson on tell and added a 250 millisecond pause after that. Here's how that change sounds.
Don't tell.
I changed KNOW to NO because I think NO sounds better. It's the second one here.
They'd advertise you know. They'd advertise you know.
The line, how dreary to be somebody, sounds like this raw.
How dreary to be somebody.
Even listening closely, it sounded like weary instead of dreary.
How dreary to be somebody.
I added an extra D in the beginning and it came out correctly.
How dreary to be somebody.
I used the emphasis tags again to put a little more punch in frog, name, June, and bog, and I think that helped a lot.
How public, like a frog, to tell one's name the livelong June to an admiring bog. How public, like a frog, to tell one's name the livelong June to an admiring bog.
I suggest you take a crack at something now, using just what you've seen in this class, to get a better feel for how you can change things. Look over the SSML tag list on the AWS web and see if there's anything new. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions. Thanks for attending this class, and the best of luck to you on this.